I feel like I'm always wearing this hoodie when I record videos, but that's because I watch movies a lot at night and I sleep in this hoodie a lot because it's really comfortable. This is my, if you guys recall from last year, this is my McFarlane USA sweatshirt. That McFarlane USA was one of my favorite movies last year. You should watch it if you haven't seen it. But this sweatshirt is like my favorite sweatshirt ever. Okay. So tonight I watched, last year obviously all I did was watch films directed by women. And this year, Women in Film LA has their 52 Films by Women challenge. But I intend to watch far more than 52 films by women because as I was transitioning away from watching, or not away from watching films by women, but transitioning back into the world of male-directed cinema, I found myself getting angry again. At a lot of the films, I was just like, why am I wasting my time watching this bullshit? So I'm, watching films directed by women still because there's lots that I didn't get to. I watched 305 movies, and that is not all there is out there. And I just happen to generally like films by women better. That's what I realized. At least, because there are characters, that women in films by women tend to be less, feel more real. Okay, so, spieled over. I watched Jac Schaeffer's TiMER, which is a sci-fi romantic comedy. Two of my favorite things combined. How did I not watch this last year? I don't know. I don't know. So it's written, directed, and produced by Jac Schaeffer, who is a woman. Her name is Jac, J-A-C, possibly short for Jacqueline. I'm not sure. And you heard me right. It's a sci-fi romantic comedy. It's from 2009. We're living in a world where, instead of everyone having iPhones and iPads, etc., everyone has a timer, which is a device that has been. This is science fiction. You don't have to be able to explain the science fiction, and I don't think you have to. So somehow someone invented a timer that you get implanted that will tell you the moment. It'll count down to the moment when you meet your soulmate, if they also have a timer implanted. So if your soulmate doesn't have a timer implanted, you are like our heroine, whose timer is blank because there's no time to count down to because it can't sync with the other person. Her sister, who's her stepsister, is suffering from something similar. She has 4,000 plus days until hers, and she's had it. Everyone gets these implanted at 14, so she's had the sister is supposed to be like 25 or something. She's had this thing for over 10 years. So when she got it, it told her that she was going to wait 20 years, basically. That's a horrible thing to hear at 14. And I'll get into that. So, basically, in the film, the main character, you're like, is she gonna, find the guy? Is the guy that's supposed to, or girl, who's supposed to have the timer that matches hers finally get implanted? Is that gonna happen? I don't know. But she decides to say fuck it, and she starts dating this guy that hits on her at the grocery store, and he's too young, and he doesn't have a timer, so it's like, whatever, it's great. And then things get complicated, and I'm not going to quite explain why they get complicated, except to say that the ending of this film was bullshit, and that the sort of message that I think it was trying to go for about how basically there is no guarantee in love, and that you should stop looking for it, and that we should be happy when we have it, because all you really have is right now. I feel like that's what it was trying to say, except that then the ending sort of defeated that. Also, as much as I like Desmond Harrington, the guy they cast as the young rock dude boyfriend was so much more charming. I mean, he was 22, so he was a little immature, but he's gonna grow up, The Desmond Harrington character was just boring. Never choose the boring guy, okay? Just don't do it. But one thing I particularly liked about it was there's a point where the two sisters have strife, and the main character basically says, "Fuck everything. I choose you over everything, because what's the most important is our friendship." And that's such an important message, and I thought it was just delightful. I think this film had a lot to say about our culture of dating and our culture of women sort of finding worth in relationships, rather in romantic relationships, rather than in our other relationships and in our life in general. For example, the sister who, since she was 14, knows that she's supposedly never going to meet the love of her life until she's 43, has no life because she is lost and feels like there's nothing for her out there because she doesn't have this partner, and that everyone else has partners, and that she's not living her life because what's the point? And it's the point I think that Schaeffer was trying to say was that the point is to live your life, not to have a partner. Like, a partner is great, but that doesn't mean that you put your life on hold for that, and that doesn't mean that you don't live for everything else that's great in life. So it had a lot to say about the stake we put in finding the one, and in romantic comedies in general, where it's about that matchup, that one perfect true matchup, except that then everything that it was sort of being critical of, it sort of stops being critical of in the ending, and then it's just a bad ending. It's always a bummer when you have a really great film with a really bad ending. I feel like there would have been a much better ending, and she could have found it with like one more draft. I don't know. So I really liked this film a lot. It had a great soundtrack. There was a Sufjan Stevens song. At one point, she's having sex while Sufjan Stevens is playing. That should be everyone's ideal, I think. And then to like right when you're at the saddest part of the movie, they played The Trapeze Swinger by Iron and Wine, and I lost my shit. I was just sobbing. I was like, this is not okay. I'm crying a little bit just thinking about it. I don't know if you know that song, but it will make you cry. It is about someone who's fucked up his life and is looking back on the love that he let dissipate. So it like really underscored that moment in the film perfectly, I think. So this movie just had a lot to say, and I wish that it had stuck with what it was really setting up to say in the first two thirds, or even 3/4, all the way to the last like 10 minutes. It was really, really had me sold on what it had on how it was critiquing our culture of love, until it fell into the trap it was saying we shouldn't fall into. It was kind of a bummer. That said, this is on Netflix, and you should watch it. And especially if you like romantic comedies or science fiction, and especially if you love both, this is a great film for you. And I'm kind of bummed that I didn't watch it last year. But it's, everyone can watch it, so that's great. This came out, and I guess it was released at Tribeca in 2009, and had its theatrical release in 2010. So it's one of those like double year movies. I'm gonna call it 2009. I don't care. Written, directed, and produced by Jac Schaeffer, who this is her only feature film. And if you're out there, film financiers and or producers, people, like, this is a great film, and this is a director who should be working more. This has been 7 years since she made this film. This is a bummer. I want more from her. Watch it on Netflix.